the prior administration appointed 226 judges to the federal courts, almost 30% of the current federal judiciary. An overwhelming majority of those appointees, 189, were white, and nearly as many, 171, were men. Over the course of the prior administration, our federal judiciary became markedly less diverse. Today marks an important step in reversing that trajectory and creating a federal judiciary that reflects the America that it serves. This committee has heard and will hear testimony from 5 nominees, all persons of color, and 3 women. They have experience in public defense, prosecution, civil litigation, municipal law, and military service. The diversity of background and professional experience they offer to the federal judiciary, in addition to their impressive qualifications, is remarkable and important. So I hope, Mr. Chair, and expect that this will be only the first of many such nomination hearings this Congress. Now to my questions. The first for Ms. Jackson. If confirmed, you'll be one of the few former public defenders to serve in this capacity. So can you take just a minute to speak to the role and importance of public defenders to our criminal justice system?
Senator, did you mean Ms. Jackson?
Yes, Jackson McHugh.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. It's foundational. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the right to assistance of counsel, and the Supreme Court has interpreted in that the right to counsel in criminal cases when one cannot afford an attorney. This is important because the integrity of our system depends on it. Judges make the best decisions when they're presented with the best arguments from both sides. And due process guarantees that people be represented and have the opportunity to be heard, regardless of their ability to pay. So it was my honor and privilege to work within that system for a decade to ensure that my clients were competently represented, regardless of their ability to pay, and frankly, regardless of what they were accused of, and to help our country live up to its constitutional values.
Great. And just a follow-on, earlier in your career, you spent about 3 years working at a corporate law firm with, I'm sure, very nice offices and a lot of resources and high salaries, but you chose to leave that very comfortable path to spend the next decade of your career as a public defender. Just for a minute, just for a moment to reflect on what would prompt you to make such a change.
Well, Senator, I am very grateful for the 3 years I spent litigating at Skadden Arps. It was a tremendous experience representing our clients, which ranged from corporations to nonprofit organizations, individuals. I gained a lot of experience, tried my first jury trial, argued my first case before the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals, before which I appeared many times after that as a federal public defender. But I always knew that I wanted to return to public service. I began my legal career serving the public as a law clerk to 2 federal judges, and I wanted to spend the bulk of my career that way. And this nomination by the president has given me an opportunity to yet again serve the public if this committee and the Senate as a whole so decides.
Thank you. My next question for Ms. Brown Jackson.
Thank you.
In the 8 years you've served as a district court judge, you've presided over hundreds of cases. In that time, you have ruled for both prosecutors and criminal defendants, for workers and employers, for the government, and those challenging governmental decisions. Is there an ideology or philosophy that guides your approach to judicial decision-making, and how do you that changing, if at all, if you're confirmed to the circuit court?
Thank you for that question, Senator. not really a philosophy, more of a methodology. It is the idea that it is only appropriate for the judge to take into account the arguments of the parties, the facts in the case, and the law that applies in every case. And I have found that if you do that, you can be consistent in the way that you're analyzing the issues, and you can set aside any thoughts about who is making the arguments, what advantages any side might take away from your opinions. If you have a fidelity to the rule of law that is grounded in looking at only those inputs, then I think you can rule without fear or favor, which is what I've attempted to do.
I want to, as some of my colleagues have already done, thank you both for your willingness to serve, and thank your families for supporting your service, because I know it's not easy. But in the last minute I have left, ask you both to briefly comment on what it just means to you personally, for you and for your family, for you to be here with this opportunity before you.
Well, Senator, I am fortunate enough to have an office now that is just a few blocks from the National Archives. And sometimes I go there and I reflect on the momentousness of my duties and the fact that I've had an opportunity that my grandparents would not have been able to even fathom. And it is the beauty and the majesty of this country that someone who comes from a background like mine could find herself in this position. And so I'm just enormously grateful to have this opportunity to be a part of the law in this way. And I'm truly thankful for the president's giving me the honor of this nomination.
Thank you.
Senator Padilla, I share a similar sentiment. I am the granddaughter of a sharecropper. 3 of my 4 grandparents had only a 4th and 6th grade education. But I also grew up with the precept, to whom much is given, much is required. And despite those humble beginnings, my family has always been one that valued education, and I have been given a top-notch education and top-notch experiences that I'm so grateful for. And I recall Attorney General Garland telling you all that he believed it was the highest and best use of his skills to be able to serve the country in this way now. And although I've not been a circuit judge, and I'm certainly not the Attorney General, I agree with Attorney General Garland in this moment now to serve as a circuit judge at the request of our president would be the highest and best use of the skills that I have, and such a way to thank my family and this country for the many opportunities that I have been given.
So, well, as proud son of immigrants from Mexico with little formal education, but a work ethic that led to 40 years working as a short order cook and a domestic worker who had an opportunity to study at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, earn a degree, and years later gets to sit on this side of the dais. I thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Padilla.